Hi, and welcome to the CAFMA Connect. I'm your host, Fire Chief Scott Freitag, and with me this week again, Assistant Chief John Fenema. Our ratings just plummeted because it's you and I together.
I'm here to kill it. So
Stop it.
I think it's just jointly the two of us for whatever reason. But we hadn't had a podcast in a couple of weeks because our producer, thank God, she's feeling much better now. And then the first week was, well, the Legado Fire, and that had us tied up a little bit.
Yep.
So I thought we'd discuss that briefly, just a quick hit to keep it kind of out in front of the public, and talk about some of the plans that we've developed. I've worked with Kathy to develop on what a series of podcasts would look like related to that fire. But I think it's important for people to understand we're dealing with the ATF at the federal level, we're PVPD, and I don't want to say dealing with, we're working with them. Yeah. And it's a criminal case. So this is one of those times where, unlike you Pickett, where we were able to go straight to the drone video and do all of that, some of our material that we own that we'd like to use for the podcast, we can't because it's part of a criminal investigation.
Yeah, I think it's important, like you say, to be sensitive to that part of it, because this is a little bit different than you Pickett from the standpoint of the amount of loss and the criminal damage that was done. So I think that's, like you say, that's part of the reason why we'll have to, play this out a little bit. But I think the information is still good, especially the significance of that event.
Well, and I want to show folks what the capabilities are of our organization and Prescott working together. Yeah. Right? I think it's important for people to see that. And I know that Chief Dura and I have already scheduled to speak to the Prescott Valley Town Council at a council meeting in May. Awesome. As well as to the Prescott City Council at a council meeting in May.
Yeah, you hate to have an event like that to showcase the partnership, but an event like that definitely does. And you look at the partnership that we have with the City of Prescott, the resources that we, seamlessly got on scene that were both CAFMA and Prescott resources, I think is a huge topic to bring to the City Council and to the town of Prescott Valley to highlight just the capabilities that are there. Also, to include, you look at the mutual aid that came in from out of the area. Right. And again, seamlessly integrated into the system to run calls, and they were busy. We had units from around the Yavapai County that came in and supported stations while a lot of our crews were on scene.
And we also had Flagstaff come down as part of statewide mutual aid to add to the system. And again, they were busy. Yeah. The only unit we actually used to assist with the fire itself was Ladder 411 from Cottonwood to get that other elevated master stream that we needed. Outside of that, all of the units that folks saw, and I think this is a common misconception by some in our community, is that, see, we told you that they didn't have enough resources to handle this. Thank goodness that we got the countywide mutual aid in to keep this fire in check. And the reality is, no, we had the resources to keep the fire in check, and we protected surrounding structures, including a neighboring apartment complex. Yeah. PVPD did a great job. I think Yavapai County Sheriff worked with them to help evacuate. But we did have the resources to address a very significant event in our community. And I think one of the things that I said on another podcast I recorded this morning with another group, I'll say it on this podcast, and I'll say it as we go forward talking to elected officials. There's many people in the community that any time a development is proposed, they try to use the fire department as the stick to beat the development back. And what they say is, well, the fire department doesn't have the resources for that. Sure. My message to elected officials is, you saw Legado. Yeah. We brought the resources and the training to bear. And we handled the incident very well, and we used outside resources. To that end, unless it's me, you, or another delegate from our organization that goes to the elected body and says the fire department can't handle this, you shouldn't listen to the voices in the community saying don't develop because the fire department can't handle it. And to those folks in the community who are concerned with development, I would just ask, please don't use us. If you're unhappy with the development, just tell them you're unhappy with the development, but the fire department will speak for the fire department. Correct. Yeah. And I feel like we spoke very loudly at Legado that, hey, our folks are highly trained, highly skilled. there were company officers out there that had been company officers for 2 minutes, and they made great tactical decisions.
Yeah. Well, and you look at the event itself, and I think the additional podcast will be a very good way to highlight just the intensity of that situation,
right,
and how quickly everything moved, and how the crews responded to that. Because obviously horrible loss for the folks that were involved in it. All the workers that were on scene. Obviously, there's a lot of loss there. But the crews, that responded to the scene, nobody was injured, nobody was hurt. We kept it to the structure of origin, which was a very large structure, but I think very important because the surrounding areas, including the apartments, were definitely threatened. So I think that part of the response was good. And like you say, go back to the development side. We respond to development, and we grow, we evolve. Even Legado, obviously, we were looking at training and tactics and continuing to have to evolve to how the community grows. That's how we have to respond to it.
And the Fane Signature Group has been awesome throughout the build-out of Legado and allowing our crews to go in and train. The first in-company officer that night's probably the most well-versed in that building because he trained in it so often. The battalion chief that was on that day is actually our training chief, Chief Merrill. Yep. But because he was working as Battalion 3, Sunday afternoon, he had gone out and driven around that complex. That's how seriously our folks take their job. Yeah. They plan in advance. If this, then this. And you could hear it. I heard it that night in their voices on the radio, because what I did not hear was anxiety. Mm-hmm. What I heard was calm, cool, collective, good commands, good communication, a good incident command infrastructure set up immediately. And again, going back to first in company officers, whether it was a Prescott Fire ladder truck with a company officer who'd been a company officer for 8 weeks, or our first in engine where the company officer has been a company officer less than 2 years. Yeah. They made good, sound decisions.
Absolutely.
And I think, honestly, I believe that the training that we do and the working relationship we have with Prescott Fire Department was on full display that night. Mm-hmm. And that's why Chief Dura and I want to go out and talk to the city of Prescott, talk to the town of Prescott Valley. Yep. We also need to get a letter together. Chief Dura and I are going to do a joint letter thanking each of the agencies that sent resources over. We're going to be pulling the data on how many calls they ran. I think somebody told me today, it might have been you or Lee, I can't remember, said that one engine who moved up, I think it was a Groom Creek engine, ran like 8 calls, 911 for us. They're like, every time we responded and cleared a call, we got sent on another one.
Well, and I know even Chief Schuster, who was he came in, off duty and backfilled in Battalion 3, and he helped organize the statewide mutual aid resources that were coming in. He said there was at least 2 engines. I don't remember which ones they were, but they came to Station 53 where he was to get briefed, frequencies, a few other things, and call kicked out before they were even done briefing. He's like, well, that one's yours. Yeah. We'll talk more when you get back. And that happened multiple times that morning because there was just a lot of business. But crews came in, even from out of the area, and ran seamlessly in our area to provide service to the community despite such a very large event that was going on. So.
Well, and I'd like to give a shout out. It's Telecommunications Week, so shout out to our dispatchers who worked that event with us. And I say with us because they're part of the event from the initial 911 call until we closed it out and took that last unit off the scene a week later. 7 days later, we were on the scene. Yeah.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to say, and I don't have the exact number here, but I think just one of their call takers or dispatchers took 100 calls during the first few hours of the Legado. It was absolutely incredible how they were able to manage those calls.
Outstanding professionals at the Prescott Regional Communications Center, and shout out to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Chief Lucas went into dispatch to be support command during that incident as well, which again, that's just our partner agencies helping to support a very large event in a variety of different ways.
Well, it's amazing how many people will actually answer their phone when I call them at like 1:40 in the morning. Mm-hmm. I called you first, then I called Cody, then I tried Lee. You both answered your phones right away, and as soon as I said Legado's on fire, we're on our way. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And then on the way in, And this is the importance of relationships and networks, right? I called Chief Dura, and he answered the phone right away, and I said, Legado's on fire. And he's like, I'm there. I'll be right there. He opened the back window of his house, the blinds, and he's like, oh, no, that's not good. I was able to reach out to Gilbert Davidson, the town manager. And again, from Stone Ridge, he looked out and said, oh, what do you need? And the great thing was I was able to just say, listen, I need you to call the water department, make sure we don't lose pressure in this area. So shout out to Prescott Valley, the town, from the town manager to the water department, making sure we had water. And again, people being responsive so early in the morning. Yeah. I'd really like to thank Chief Tyser with PVPD as well. I don't think I've ever in 31 years worked an event where the police chief came in, got in the backseat of the command vehicle, stayed there with us, and anytime we needed something more from the town, Chief Tyser was right there to get it done for us. Yep. So,
yeah, no, like I say, the cooperation was awesome between all the agencies in the surrounding areas and across different disciplines, which was great.
The community outpouring of support. And I'd like to go back to Chief Dura for a second, because it wasn't just Chief Dura. As soon as I talked to him, he contacted all of his command staff. Sure. And that's how Chief Lucas got sent to PRCC, and Chief Knapp got on scene, and Chief Ludeman. And, we made a lot of phone calls that night. I still feel bad about calling Ron Fain and leaving him a message, and Brad a message saying, hey, Legado's on fire, call me. There just wasn't a way to soften the news. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But just great work by everybody.
I did get the actual number. So a single call taker in the early morning hours took 133 incoming calls with an additional 34 911 calls. Just that one dispatcher. Yeah. Also, I would like to give a shout out as someone who was on scene for a while to our warehouse.
Yes.
Because they supplied us with food. There was a lot of food.
They did.
And a lot of places donated that food, and we've tried to share those places on our social media. There is a great number of them, and we're very thankful.
Yeah, so many community members. And one of the podcasts we're going to do, we're going to have Chief Rose come in and talk about how planning and logistics plays a role in large events like this, from food and making sure that we have everything to rehydrate the firefighters working, keep everybody moving, to fleet, who came in with a fuel truck and started fueling engines and ladders on the scene, to Prescott Fleet, who, at the request of Chief Dura helping us out, brought a fuel truck in to keep those units running throughout that entire time from the initial response.
Yeah. No, I think it's, again, you hate to have an event like this, but an event like this does highlight just how well the community works together.
Right. No, it really did. And subsequent to the event, a shout out to the ATF. I mean, I know in this area, when you talk about federal government, people get a little bit uptight. Sure. But I have to say, I never would have imagined an entity like the ATF, National Response Team, would come in and work as collaboratively and be as communicative as they were. They simply came in to integrate, bring their expertise to the table, and assist both PVPD and CAFMA as one joint task force. They were amazing. Yeah.
Like I say, I was impressed as well, just in terms of the cooperation and the seamless integration with what was already going on. And at the same time, just interesting to see the expertise that they were able to bring to the community to just be a positive influence to, the process, the investigation, and hopefully, there's able to make more inroads there. But I think it was awesome to see just, what they brought, which was cool.
And I think the last thing from my perspective, just so in full transparency with the public, and I brought it up earlier on a podcast, and I've talked about it openly. We've discussed for several years, or I've discussed, and you've listened,
sure,
about the need for a second ladder truck or second aerial device, and more of a straight stick, single axle, day-to-day use type of apparatus. And I think this did highlight that need. So while I had talked about it for a couple of years prior, I actually came to you and we talked about it subsequent to the fire. Yeah. Before going to the board and making the request that, listen, we need to make the move. Legado's going to rise back out of the ground again. Yep. Thank God. We appreciate the work that the Fain Signature Group does in the community. We also have some hotels going up, some additional apartment complexes going up, some larger residential communities that are tightly packed. And as we saw just a few days later in Phoenix, they had one of those tightly packed residential developments go up. And just to point out, Phoenix had 7 different cities that came in to assist with that. Yeah. Mutual aid, automatic mutual aid is not uncommon.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No one can have every piece of apparatus that they need, but we do need this. So at our April board meeting, we will be making that request. And part of the reason it's on the agenda was a board request. Yeah. So it's us working together with the board. We recognize the need. Fortunately, we've been very good with our monies over the years, and it puts us in a position where we can make a move.
Gives us options.
Right. The hope is for a demo unit so we don't have to wait 4 years. And I know Chief Rose is already looking at that. So the last thing I would say is there is a suspect in this case. It was determined that this fire was incendiary, and the suspect, when caught, will be charged with arson under Arizona state statute. So incendiary is a word that we use in fire investigation. Arson is the term people are more accustomed to. So with that, Kathy, if you could just put the suspect's picture in here, remind folks to call Yavapai County Silent Witness with any tips that they may have.
Absolutely. Please, if you see something, say something.
We know the subject is around 6 foot, 6'3", wears a size 12 boot. I've been told you can't just go around tackle tall, thin people with big feet. It's apparently illegal. But if you do have a serious tip, something that could help us solve this crime to get this individual off the street, not only did he light Legado on fire, but he caused close to $120,000 worth of damage to Bradshaw Mountain High School on 2 separate occasions. He's damaged some other structures in the area, not quite as extensively, clearly, but not as extensively as the high school either. So while this person's quiet right now, we expect them to be back out. Please help us get him off the street before somebody gets hurt.
Absolutely.
So, Kathy, if you can put that information up where people can call, put the suspects. I get it. People have said, how are we supposed to identify this person? He's dressed in all black with a black mask and black glasses and black gloves. And, that's a good question. They've also said, how come the police haven't caught this person yet? Well, similar reasons. Hard to identify, but I can assure you Prescott Valley PD is doing great works with their detectives, but we need your help.
Yes, I will do that.
Thank you very much. John, with that, I appreciate you being here today. Quick hit on Legado. Anything to add about the fire? Anything to the folks?
I think the additional information that will come out in the podcast that you're talking about will be a good thing. And I think just, again, continue to highlight just the cooperation and the professionalism of all the agencies in this area.
Right. Kathy, anything to add before we close out?
Nope. Nope.
Strong work.
Okay.
Just be safe. Be safe.
Be safe.
Be safe.
The last word on this for this week, just our thoughts and prayers are with all those construction workers and contractors who lost equipment, some who have lost jobs. I know this is a big hit to our community. We're praying for a fast turnaround and getting Legado scraped clean and getting folks back to work. That's not within our purview, but we recognize this fire was far more impactful than just the fire itself. It's impacted families, and we just want you to know from us to you, our thoughts and prayers are with you. They're also with the Fain family as they work with their insurance company and through the process of trying to get this project back on track again. So with that, thank you all. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and look for future episodes about the Legado Fire.